We're going to get started in about 20 seconds. Happy Monday. Thank you all for joining us this morning. We'll get started in about 15 seconds. Thank you all. All right, y'all, we're going to begin with our pledges, and we'll begin with the pledge to the United States flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas flag pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Our campus mission: develop young men into impactful leaders through the development of their intellectual, moral, physical, social, and emotional skills for the global society of tomorrow. Our campus vision: the school of today for tomorrow's leaders. Motto: believe, achieve, succeed. Our core beliefs: campus core, engagement, encouragement, exposure, environment, excellence. Student core: academia, brotherhood, character, perseverance, service. Our campus creed: we are the Barack Obama Male Leadership Academy. We believe in the transformative powers of knowledge and wisdom. We believe that success is brought about by perseverance, not chance. We know our actions are governed by strength of character rather than whims of emotion. We resist excuses, holding ourselves accountable for our actions. We are successful through honesty, humility, and the pursuit of intellectual excellence. We are loyal to our family. We are a brother's keeper. We are committed to our community. We are servants of mankind. We have the audacity to hope. We have the audacity to succeed. We are the Barack Obama Male Leadership Academy. And now for our school song.
We are the brothers of BOMLA with the goal of becoming best in the USA. We believe perseverance, not chance, is the way to achieve. Our actions are governed by character, honesty, humility. Excuses don't exist. We are loyal to our family, committed to our community, servants of mankind and humanity. We have the audacity to hope and succeed. We are the brothers of Barack Obama, Male Leadership Academy. We have the audacity to hope and succeed. We have the audacity to believe, achieve, succeed. We are the brothers of Barack Obama, Male Leadership Academy. Believe, achieve, succeed.
And now for a moment of silence. All right, thank you all very much for joining us. And thank you for teachers. Thank you very much for holding the brothers accountable to the expectations of standing up during our traditions. You know, it's very, very important that even though we're virtual, that we still hold on to as many of the traditions as we can, and as we've, pivoted to this virtual environment. So thank you very much. And I see it's not just the middle school brothers. Thank you, high school teachers, for setting the expectation and holding the brothers accountable. Remember, you all are modeling the expectations for the brothers. So what they see you doing, they're going to do. So, thank you very much for modeling the expectations for our brothers. And for line 8, which is our focus from our creed for the month of October, we are a brother's keeper. Again, high school brothers, house captains, house lieutenants, you all, when you see someone, even if they're not in your house, when you see a brother who's not doing what you know they should do, and actually what they know they should be doing, or they're doing something that they should not be doing, just refocus them. Tell them that this is what you should be doing. hold them accountable. They're looking up to you. And if you just walk by it while they're doing something, they're going to assume that, hey, you're good with it. And I guess it's not that bad, even though they're not your brother. In some cases, you all do have younger brothers here, real blood brothers, but treat them like they're your younger brother. You see your younger brother at home doing something wrong, I'd like to think that you would correct them. Same thing here. You see them doing something wrong, you see them off task, hold them accountable. And it could just be you citing a line to them. We're successful through honesty, humility, and the pursuit of intellectual excellence. Just let them know what they're doing wrong. All right. Let me check and see if we have any birthdays here. All right, so for October 2nd, which was Saturday, I'm not sure if we gave Brother Javier Hernandez an early birthday, but if we didn't, let me go ahead and acknowledge Brother Javier Hernandez, 10th grade, happy birthday, October the 2nd. We'll give you a little bit of that.
Yeah. I heard it was somebody's birthday. I heard it was somebody's birthday. Yeah. PJ Penna birthday song. Yeah. Yeah. Today is your birthday. We gon' say it loud. Today is your birthday. I know you're so proud. Today is your birthday. We gon' turn out. About to throw a party, get it lit and wild out. Cut the cake and we gon' say happy, happy, happy birthday. Happy, happy, happy birthday.
Happy late birthday. We don't have any other birthdays today, but when you see Brother Javier, wish him a happy belated birthday for Javier Hernandez, 10th grade. All right, so Mr. Dover, let me give you back your slide over here.
Yeah, so I just thought we would give this one another try since the sound was cut out last Friday. So let's give this one a try. And so just watch the screen and follow along with the video. It's important that your eyes are watching the screen.
Let's begin this brief mindful moment by finding a comfortable seat. Feet flat on the floor, hands uncrossed. Take 3 deep breaths. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Now we are going to practice a mindfulness activity called Mindful Eyes. Look at the various objects around you. Notice their shape, their color, their texture. Now notice the space between them, the light and the shadows, the brightness or darkness of the surrounding space. Maybe even notice something you have never seen before. Now take one last breath, breathing in, breathing out, and slowly return to the room.
All right, that's our mindfulness activity for today. So I hope you guys have a great Monday and are reset and ready for the day.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Dover. And remember, teachers, this is an investment. You may not believe it, but give it a shot and see how that affects your classroom culture and just your productivity of your brothers in your classrooms. All right, what announcements do we have? We do have a guest speaker this morning, and I wanted to thank her for joining us. But what announcements do we have before our guest speaker starts?
Oh, I do have an announcement. This is Mr. Fernandez, the assistant principal. And I want to, remind, the teachers that this is, the last week of the common assessments. I see that some of you have already started and completed your common assessments for your different periods, but we still have many of you that have not completed them. So you have until Thursday. By Thursday, we must be 100% completion, okay, for common assessments. And also, I want to give a shout out, to Miss Etheridge, because she's been very instrumental in my preparation for the ACT, with the seniors. Actually, thank you, Miss Etheridge. I know that the students have inputted, their information that they need to prior, to the ACT test. I'll be posting some, rosters that I have completed, so the seniors know that they will be going to their testing session. I will be having a group of students going to, rooms 335 starting, tomorrow. Tomorrow is our ACT test. We're gonna have all the students, and I'm going to be posting this. So anyone from A through L are going to be in rooms 335, and the students with Mr. Shatoni. And then the groups that are last names from M to T will be actually in room 337. So there's going to be tomorrow. Okay, so we look forward to having a smooth testing environment tomorrow. So those areas are going to be blocked, and we will be respectful of the students who are actually, taking a test, tomorrow, by keeping that hallway in those rooms extremely quiet. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Fernandez. And what other announcements do we have this morning?
Good morning, Mr. Jackson. This is Miss Garrett, assistant principal. Good morning, everyone. Just a few reminders about the calendar and schedule this week. We're on an ABAB, so we will not be having a modified working Wednesday. So today is A day, Tuesday is B day, Wednesday will be an A day, and Thursday is a B day. And we will do that next week also. Teachers have professional development on Friday. Students, you are out of school on Friday, and you are also out of school next Friday for your fair day. And in addition to that, I see some claps, and so good. We're happy you're excited about that. And then finally, last but most certainly not least, thank you to the teachers who are standing outside of your doors during the entire passing period. If you could continue to do that and watch your lines of students for us, that is an announcement from the Dignity Center. We've had a few incidents that are coming from students in line waiting to go in class. So thank you so much for continuing to monitor those lines and your students between classes and the hallways. And we'll see you guys out there. Thank you and have a great Monday.
Hello all, this is Nurse West. I hope all is well. So I just wanted to remind everyone that we will have our COVID vaccine clinic here on campus October 7th from 9 to 11. If you have any additional questions, please let me know, because I need to get with the partners that are coming out to give them an estimated count of how many people will participate. And just like I said, if you have any questions, please get with me today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Garrett. Thank you very much, Nurse West. What other announcements do we have? All right, you all. Well, let's welcome Mrs. Villarreal. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And I know that Mr. Evans and Mr. Avila have been working behind the scenes to, make sure that we have speakers for Hispanic Heritage Month. And so I want to thank you all very much, Mr. Evans, and thank you very much, Mr. Avila. And I'm assuming Mrs. Villarreal already has co-host permission? Okay.
Yes, I do.
All right, excellent. Well, thank you very much. It's all yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for welcoming me into your space. I know that Monday mornings after a long week can be difficult. So thank you for welcoming me into your space. Really quickly, can you all see the presentation? I want to make sure that you're seeing the right screen. Wonderful. So today I want to talk with you all about kind of my principles for leading a meaningful life. Up on the screen, you'll see a little bit about me. And I think the main question whenever you have speakers come onto campus is like, well, why should we care? And the truth is, I can't really force you to care. But I'm hoping that I can bring something to you today with some of the things that I've learned that will maybe inspire and open up some new avenues of excitement for you. I also went to graduate school with Dexter. You'll see a picture up on screen of he and I during one of our graduation ceremonies. So I think if he vouched for me, hopefully you'll think I'm a worthwhile listener. I think oftentimes we really focus on kind of fancy names of where people are or where they've come from to give them worth and meaning. And I'm trying to push back against that because everyone is worthwhile and everyone has something meaningful to offer. Quick disclaimer. Everything that I talk about is only my perspective. So it's not, everybody's truth. And so I hope that you give me some space in case I say things that maybe sound a little off and just give me some grace. But I hope that you'll enjoy kind of my quick presentation. And before we do that, here's a quick puppy check, because I think the best way to get the day going is by looking at puppies. And this is my dog, Stella. So I have 4 kind of guiding principles, right? The first is that great leaders are better servants. Oftentimes, I used to think that leaders were kind of like in these like very fancy offices, just kind of isolated and doing their own thing. But throughout my experiences, I've come to see that the best leaders are the ones that focus on serving first and aren't focused on being leaders first. The second is that as we progress, as we kind of move throughout our days and our lives, we will make mistakes. And I think it's so much better to, instead of trying to focus on being perfect, to instead focus on making a better mistake than you did the last time. So you always want to keep progressing and pushing forward. The third is that we don't exist in silos, right? We exist in communities, and we often hear that while leadership is a lonely task, I urge you to think about the kind of leader that you can be, surrounded by your community and by your partners and your brothers and how they surround you. And the fourth is to make room at the table. A lot of times we think about leadership as being this kind of either he's a leader or I'm the leader. And I urge you to kind of reset that mindset, because that's an imposed assumption, right? There's room for everybody at the table. So talking just a little bit more in depth about my 4 principles. Great leaders are even better servants, right? And I think that we see this really clearly when we think of some of our great leaders. I don't know if we have the ability to participate, but maybe just you within your classes, take a couple of seconds to just shout out who are some people that are better leaders or are better servants than they are leaders. I know a few people that come to mind are, of course, the namesake of your institution, Barack Obama. He was a fantastic servant before he became a leader, right? Was very involved in community organizing, was incredibly involved in bolstering up his own community before he was giving leadership positions. And it's leading with that servant heart that made him, I think, one of the better leaders that we've seen in our time. But if you can think of some others in your classroom, I'll let you have maybe just 30 seconds to shout it out. Okay, it looks like we're getting some good participation. I hope that you'll be able to discuss this afterwards. I'm going to go ahead and move on in the interest of time. 2 is to make better mistakes. So this is something that I took from a children's book, Anne of Green Gables, which is probably one of the best books of all time, in my personal opinion. But the core concept of this is you will make mistakes, right? Everybody will make mistakes, but it's how you react to them and how you respond to them that makes you a better leader and a better friend, a better brother. And it's only a failure if you didn't learn something new, right? So whenever you're going through something difficult, I urge you to determine what went wrong, right? Like, oh man, I should have talk to this person before I made this decision. Oh, I wish that, maybe I hadn't done that, right? Determine what went wrong, identify a solution, right? So you don't just want to stay stuck in the feeling of, man, I really messed up. You want to focus on, okay, I messed up, and now what can I do? And then afterwards, communicate with people. I think one of the hardest things that we can do is ask for forgiveness or to apologize when we make a mistake. But as a leader, it's one of the most important things that you can do, because you want to model that for your friends, for your family, and for your community, right? Because if you aren't making mistakes, you aren't challenging yourself and you aren't pushing yourself to grow. So I urge you to focus on making better mistakes. And just as a quick little gorgeous Venn diagram, you need both the mistakes and the successes in order to have great leadership. My third is that leaders do not exist in silos. So, what does it mean to lead in a community filled with diverse thoughts, principles, and values? Sometimes, as a leader, you have to lead people that you don't agree with and who don't agree with you, right? And so you have to kind of think, how do you make those tough decisions, right? And sometimes make decisions that perhaps go against your own principles, but are what's best for the community. Hopefully you won't have too many of those situations, but I think it's very important for us to think about that, and to also consider that at the end of the day, you do not operate alone. You operate within a community of people who are valuable and important and who all have something meaningful to offer. Just another quick puppy check to make sure everyone's staying in. So the curly-haired one is my other puppy, whose name is Nebula. And then my fourth principle is to just make room at the table, right? Scarcity is a lie. We're taught to believe that leadership is a zero-sum game. Either he's a leader or I'm a leader, either I'm right or they're wrong. But in reality, there's so many gray areas and there's so much opportunity for you all to bring others along. I personally think that if you ever get to a place of power or a position where you have influence and you look around and you are the only one that either looks like you or is coming from your background, then there is more room for you to do better work. So find spaces where you add value, which is literally anywhere that you go, because you have such an immense amount of personal experience that is important and valuable in spaces that you may not have people like you. Share with your community how you got there, and then bring your community along. Because again, we do not exist in silos. We do not exist together. We stand on the shoulders of giants. So my takeaway question for today is, how will you make the table bigger? So quick checklist: great leaders are better servants, make better mistakes, you're not alone, you don't exist in a silo, and make room for more. So thank you so much for this quick chat, and yet another puppy check. I've put my email on here. I'm happy to discuss some of my kind of personal career, and how I've been able to achieve some of the things that I have. So there's my email up on board. I'm more than happy to chat with anyone. I do volunteer admission interviews for my undergraduate and graduate schools, which are Harvard and Penn. So if there's anything that I can offer along guidance for how to prepare for these interviews or how to get into some of these spaces that, might seem unattainable, feel free to reach out to me. I hope that you'll think of me as a resource. I think we do have some time for some questions. I would love to hear from some of your voices. And I'd also love to hear some feedback on my presentation. But for now, I'll go ahead and stop presenting.
Thank you very much for sharing. We have plenty of time for discussion, plenty of time for questions. And that was indeed a pithy presentation. I appreciate that vocabulary. All right, and Mr. Akbar, you can unmute, and we have several people. Go ahead.
Okay, Maurice, why don't you come here close to the computer, and then you could ask the question.
My question is, how old are your puppies? Oh, my name is Brother Maurice. I'm in high school degree. And how old is your puppies?
Hello, it is wonderful to meet you. So My two puppies are about a year old now, and Stella, who's the firstborn, is 5 months older than Nebula, almost to the day.
Okay. Thank you.
And they're both rescues. Always rescue your dogs if you can.
If you don't mind, we got one more brother here.
Yeah, absolutely.
My name is Brother Simeon Williams, and I'm in the house of a lion. And what breed is your dog?
So there, two of them are mixed breeds. So Stella, which is the black one, she is a half lab, half German Shepherd. And Nebula is a Labradoodle. So she's a half Labrador, half Poodle. But both of them have taught me so much about what it means to really love and care for beings that sometimes can't express what they need. And I think that, you know, for you all, if you have any pets at home, what you do in taking care and having that guardianship over people or pets that may not be able to communicate are the same principles that you want to take into your day-to-day lives, right? So caring for somebody, loving them unconditionally, and doing utterly what's best for them. But I'm really glad that you enjoyed the puppy check. I am glad that that worked.
Hello, my name is Kason Lloyd, and I actually had a question because you said that what is it? It's really a loss if you don't gain anything from your failure. And wonder, are you ever like happy to fail? Because no one's ever happy to lose at anything. So are you ever proud to fail because you learn something from it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Thank you for asking that. I will say, I really hate messing up. Like it makes me feel so bad and I don't love how it feels. But there are times when I've made a mistake because I tried really hard to do something and it didn't work out. And I'm 10 times better that I tried and failed than I did for not trying. So an example of that is when I was in high school, my dream school was Georgetown. Like I thought that I was going to go to Washington, D.C. and become a politician. And that's really where I saw my path being. And I tried so hard to get into the college. I applied. I thought I had everything set. And then the day came and I failed. And it felt so awful to be rejected from my dream school. And it was about like a week later that I found out that I'd gotten accepted into Harvard. And so I do think that sometimes failures are just next steps to our next successes. And so I try really hard when I mess up to just say, well, am I learning something from it? And how will this make me better moving forward? Because I do think I'm a much better person for having failed so much, for dreaming big, than I am for just, you know, being afraid of putting myself out there and just living a safe life. That was a really great question.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Caleb Scott, and I just wanted to ask, this is kind of like a two-part question. Have you ever had like that time or phase or gone through a phase where like you just wondered what's your meaning in life?
Mm-hmm.
And if so, what did you do to like push those thoughts back?
Yeah, that's a really deep question. I often go through existential crisis because I'm just like, what am I doing here? Right? The world is falling down around me. It feels like so many things are going wrong. And sometimes I wonder, am I doing enough? Or how have I been put in these positions? And am I, you know, doing something worthwhile with them? And I think it's really important to carry that with us every day, right? And I think for me, where I find the value and where I don't really push those thoughts away. Instead, I kind of use them to guide me. Because for me, I'm so deeply indebted to my community. I come from the Rio Grande Valley in Texas, where it's like 99% Hispanic. I was raised by my grandmother while my mom was working. They both crossed the border on a tire to get here so that I could have the future that I have. And so I often think about, you know, why was I worthy of so much sacrifice? But kind of getting stuck on why someone is worthy or not isn't as beneficial to me as it is thinking about, well, now that I am where I am, now that I've had the opportunities that I have, how will I do something with them that's meaningful and that will be impactful for my community? And so I try to take that everywhere that I go. So instead of kind of thinking, is life meaningful? Am I worthy? It's instead of course I'm meaningful and of course I'm worthy. And with that, how will I make the spaces that I'm in better? I'm currently in a role where I'm a programmatic trader. If you don't know what that is, that's totally fine. No one really knows. But essentially, you know, when you have like ads that you see like on TV and then they pop up on your phone and then all of a sudden they're on like your like social media and you're just like, where are all of these things coming from? My job is to make those things follow you around, which can be very weird, right? Because it's like you have a lot of power to influence how people see the world and shape the world. But I think that in being in my position, I'm able to say, maybe we can target like these ads that are better for people to see. Maybe we can focus on kind of sharing a better type of content. And so I think it's one of those things where you lead from where you are. That's kind of where I find my meaning. So it's not in like, am I worthy? Instead, it's, of course I'm worthy. And what will I do with it? I hope that was a good answer. It was a long answer to your question, but it was a very good question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, we got another question from Brother Simeon.
How was your experience at Harvard?
That's a really great question. I feel so fortunate to have been able to go to one of the best universities in the world. But I will say that there were times where it was really difficult because I would look around the room and I felt like I was the only person that looked like me, which is saying a lot because I'm also pretty light skinned. And so, you know, I can pass in a lot of situations as white. Also, my name is Dorothy, which makes no sense. My mom is like, my family's all Mexican. They just saw the name in the book and thought it was cool. But I digress. I had some of the best moments of my life going to a university like Harvard, where I did not have to pay a single thing for tuition. I had a full ride. It's a little known fact that you actually will pay less going to one of the Ivy League institutions than you would for in-state tuition, because they have a really generous financial aid program. So if your parents make, I think, under $75,000, you do not have to pay a single cent to Harvard. If they make from 75 to 150 or 160, I think, then you pay just proportionally. So I think a lot of times we kind of think, oh, well, those spaces are too expensive, or, oh, like those spaces won't want people like me. But the reality is they need people exactly like you in those spaces. So I hope that when you're thinking about applying to colleges, you'll apply there. But I loved my experience. I loved being in Boston, where there's so much history everywhere you go. I loved seeing the snow and experiencing so many things that I would have never gotten to see if I'd stayed in the Valley. I also was able to do a study abroad programs where they were completely paid for me to spend a summer in Mexico City, for me to host conferences, for me to attend a whole bunch of different amazing courses. So I also have this to say. I have some friends that went with me to Harvard that didn't take advantage of the opportunities that were there, that just kind of went and got their degree. And then I also had friends that went to a community college that are now working in Congress because they took advantage of all of the different opportunities available to them. So I think a lot of times we think, well, if I'm not at this fancy place, then I can't do anything fancy. But it's very much about how you communicate with others around you, how you form those bonds and create a network that allows you to do some fantastic work, right? So don't think that you need to go to a big name place in order to have a meaningful impact on your community. You lead from where you are.
Thank you so much. We got Brother Maurice. Go ahead.
My name is Brother Maurice. My name is Brother Maurice. I'm in high school degree, and I have another question. And what made you want to go to Washington College?
So I think I missed the first part of the question, but the second part was about going to Washington after college. Was that right?
That's what made you want to go to Washington.
Oh, well, I wanted to go to Washington because that's where I thought that I needed to go to make a difference. I think for me, when I was little, I would just see the news and it seemed like everything big was happening at Washington. And I thought, well, that's where I need to go to do things that matter. And it wasn't until I got to college where I realized, leadership happens from small communities, right? Government happens in small communities. It's going to your local elections. It's being a part of your council board. It's being a part of the school committees, because Washington, while it has a great and tremendous amount of influence, it is not where most of the leadership that needs to happen exists, right? And I think there's a big draw. There was such a big draw for me to go to Washington, not only because of like that part, but the historic part and feeling like there was a place to do really big things there. But I realized that the kind of change that I want to make doesn't need to be splashed on top of a newspaper. It doesn't need to be shared 1,000 times for it to be important. I think some of our greatest leaders are the ones that we don't know their names because they did the small work that made the big things happen.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Miss Dorothy, what is your big dream? Where do you see yourself 20 years from now?
Yeah. Dex, I used to have a big dream where I was going to be the president of a college. And I really felt that deep in my soul. But lately, I think through the pandemic and through a whole bunch of things, I've kind of switched my way of thinking to where I'm not so much focused on like, what is the position that I'll be doing? What's the job that I'll be doing? As much as what will my day-to-day life be? And how will that be meaningful, right? And so I think having that shift really took away a lot of the anxiety that I was feeling around feeling like, oh, well, I'm not doing like the steps that I need to do to get to this one place, right? Or, oh man, like I'm failing because I'm not getting the promotion or because I'm not doing, these big splashy things. And I think that when I kind of reset my mind and shifted my focus to instead being, well, how can I live the best life that I have right now with what I have and where I am? I think that has made my life immeasurably better and has very much helped with my anxiety and just with a lot of kind of feelings of depression and feeling like I'm not enough. But I hope that in 10 or 20 years, I'm still able to do this kind of engagement with students and that I'm able to make my friends' life happier, that I'm able to support my family in the way that they've always supported me. And that wherever I go, I'm helping to sow seeds of resilience and of brilliance. Because overall, I don't need to be remembered, but I hope that my actions and the consequences of them will be meaningful and will leave a good path behind. I see one of the questions asking about my high school experience and how I got into Harvard. And I'll tell you the very honest truth, which is that I am very much not sure how I got in, because I look around me and there are so many brilliant people applying to these very coveted roles, right? The admissions rate is something like 5% at Harvard, which is insane. There are hundreds of thousands of students that apply. And so I feel like I can't be like, I got in because I'm amazing, right? Because that's not true. There's so many amazing and wonderful people that get in. And because I also got rejected from so many schools, I can't think that it's because I was so special. But I think one of the things that I did do was I tried really, really hard to just show how deeply I cared for my community, how deeply I loved to learn, and how I tried to make the most of every opportunity available to me. So when I was in high school, I was in ROTC, which I don't think you all have that, but I was in every leadership position that I could possibly be in. And not because I wanted to be in a leadership position, but because I genuinely cared about making like improvements to my school. I competed in UIL. I was in the cheer team as a manager because I was not a very athletic youth. And I was in band, I did mariachi. So I always had a lot of interest, and I was always just so fascinated by all of the different opportunities and things that I could be involved in and places where I could learn from. And so I tried to be in as much of them as possible. And I also took all of the opportunities for expanding my learning. So I took college courses before like they were really available to high school students to take. I tried to do well in classes, but I won't lie, like I did not graduate as my school's valedictorian. I was probably like I was ranked fifth or sixth, I think, in my school. But I think perhaps one of the things that set me apart when we were doing the admissions process is that I showed Harvard that not only would I really benefit from going to their institution, but that they would also benefit from having me there, that I would be able to take advantage of the resources that they offer, that I would be able to create effective change and bring my voice and my perspective into the rooms where there hadn't been people like me before. And I think that wherever you go, whenever you think about kind of where you want to go to college or how you want to make an impact, it's really important to shift the focus away from just how can they serve you, right? Like, how much do you want to be at a place, to how much you can add value to an institution, right? How your perspective, how your drive, how your values will move them forward in a way that is meaningful and impactful. And I think that that's a lesson that I try to take with me wherever I go, whenever I'm looking for other opportunities, wherever I'm thinking about, shifting roles. I always have to think about, this is a two-way street, right? It isn't just me wanting to get a better job, or it isn't just me wanting to be a part of the community. It's what can I also bring to the table, right? So I hope that answered your question, Mr. Suarez.
All right, do we have any other questions? I thought I heard someone unmuting. All right, and there's your email address. Thank you for dropping it into the chat. And Mr. Akbar, please post that on in our leadership lounge. And thank you very much for just sharing with us. We had a previous speaker said the same thing, standing on the shoulders of giants, and that's just, we've been hearing the similar message, and then we just want to make sure that we have as many opportunities as possible. The sky's the limit for everyone, and you may set a goal and it doesn't come out exactly the way you want it, but you still got into Harvard instead of Georgetown, which isn't that bad, right? So set your goals, brothers, and achieve them. I've said it before about happiness should be setting goals and achieving them. So you may not achieve it that first time, but just keep going, persevere, and you'll get there. All right. Any other questions, you all, before we dismiss? Any other announcements? All right, Joe, we have about 14 minutes. So please make sure that if you haven't turned in your belief statements, that you do turn those in. I'll do a check today, and there may have all been turned in, but I'll do a check today, and I'll make that announcement tomorrow so we can go on to step 2. So thank you very much. Again, this is Villarreal, and you all, let's have a great day at Vomla today, and I'll see you all in the classroom. See you in the hallways. Thank you all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good one.
Thank you.